Minute 7 of the UPSC Prelims, most aspirants make their first mistake. At minute 32, they lost control of the paper. And by minute 95, they are no longer thinking clearly. They are just guessing. Today, I am going to show you exactly what to do at every stage of those 120 minutes. Today, I am not going to teach you polity. I am not going to teach you economy. And I am not going to teach you environment. Because none of that matters if you lost control inside the exam hall. UPSC Prelims is not a knowledge test. It is a 120-minute control system. Most aspirants fail not because they did not study, but because inside those 120 minutes, they panic, they misjudge questions, they waste time, and slowly they lose emotional control. And once that happens, the paper starts defeating them. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. You are not solving 100 questions. You are making 100 decisions. Every single question in that paper is asking you something deeper. It is asking you like this: should you attempt this or skip it? Should you trust your instinct or doubt it? Should you continue thinking or walk away? UPSC is not testing your knowledge, it is testing how you behave. When you don't know the answer, if it is testing how you behave when you don't know the answer. So today I'm not going to giving you theory. I'm giving you a system that you can actually execute. That's type of system I'm giving you inside the exam hall when the pressure is real. What type of system I have going to give you? A system that you can actually execute inside the exam hall when the pressure is real. The first mistake most aspirants make is that they open the paper and immediately start solving from question 1. That is absolutely wrong. The first 10 minutes of the paper are not meant for solving, they are meant for classification. Because a 100 question paper in its raw form create chaos is chaos. But once you classify it, it becomes control. Now understand this carefully. When you read a question and within a few seconds you are absolutely clear about the answer, there is no doubt, no confusion, no hesitation. That question is green. That question is in green zone. And in that moment, your job is very simple. You do not overthink, you do not reread, you do not try to be perfect. You mark the answer and simply you move forward. Because every extra second you spend on a question you already know is time you are taking away from the questions you don't know. Let me repeat it again. Because every extra second you spend on a question you already know, when already know is time you are taking away from the questions you don't know. So now comes to the dangerous category, that is, you read a question and it feels familiar. You feel like you have seen this topic before. One statement looks correct and another one creates doubt. You are not completely blank, but you are not fully confident either. This is not ignorance, this is partial clarity. And this is exactly where UPSC traps serious aspirants. If you enter this question too early, you will sit there thinking, trying to force logic, and 2 minutes, then 3 minutes will disappear, and still you won't have a clear answer. So, your job here is discipline. You don't solve it now, you mark it mentally as yellow and you move ahead. Now, the third category is you read a question and nothing makes sense. You don't recognize the concept, you don't understand the statements, you don't see any elimination possibilities. This is in red zone question. This is red. And this is where maturity matters. You don't find this question, you don't force logic, you don't sit and struggle here. You leave it, because UPSC is not asking you to solve everything. It is asking you to choose wisely. And most aspirants fail here. They see a yellow question and they treat it like green. They sit, they think, they spend time, and still they don't get the answer. That is called as misclassification. Misclassification is more dangerous than lack of knowledge. Isn't clear? It kills time. Now, once you understand classification, the next layer of the paper begins. UPSC is not asking you whether you know the answer or not. It is asking you whether you can eliminate the wrong ones. You will see statements that look correct, sound logical, feel familiar, but something is slightly off. For example, you read a statement that says all fundamental rights are absolute. The moment you see the word all, you should pause, because extreme words are rarely correct in UPSC. Or you see a statement, Niti Aayog implements government schemes. It sounds correct, it feels correct. But if you think carefully, implementation is done by ministries, not Niti Aayog. Or you see a statement that is factually true, but it is not answering the question asked, then that statement is useless, out of context here. And in UPSC, useless statements must be eliminated. Sometimes UPSC gives you two statements, and the real question is not the content, but the connection. Like statement 1 and statement 2. Explain second statement for first statement is correct or not. Does statement 2 actually explain statement 1? Are they just loosely related? And then comes the most dangerous trap, partial truth, the half truth. A statement that is almost correct but in incomplete. It feels safe, but it is wrong. UPSC does not give wrong statements, it gives almost correct statements. And your job is to detect the almost. And your job is to detect that almost. Now, if you understand all this, you will feel confident. But confidence is not enough in UPSC. If you follow what I am about to show you, you will feel in control. But confidence is not enough in UPSC. If you follow what I am about to show you, you will feel in control. Now let me take you inside the exam hall and show you exactly how this system works minute by minute. Minute by minute execution we are taking here from 0 to 5 minutes. You sit down in the exam hall, the paper comes into your hands. Actually happening here like this. And your natural instinct is to start solving immediately. The paper comes into your hands. Don't take a breath, slow yourself down, let your mind settle. Because the first mistake is always starting too fast. Then we'll move to fifth to 15 minutes. Now you begin scanning the paper. You are not solving. You are not thinking deeply. You are simply observing and classifying here at this stage. The question is clear. Its classification is green. This one is partial. Take it as yellow. This one is completely unknown. That is in red zone. By the end of this phase, you should not have answers. You should have a crystal clear map. Then next 15 to 45th minute. Now you begin here round 1. This is where you build your base. You go only to green questions at this phase. You read once, you understand, you mark, and you move. But be careful. You will see a familiar question and you will feel like reading it again just to be sure. That is where time leaks begin. So, round 1 is not about thinking, it is about harvesting. By the end of this phase, you should have around 45 to 55 questions confidently done. Then we are moving to 45th minute to 80th minute. Now the real paper begins here. You return to yellow questions. Now you don't rely on memory. You rely on what? You rely on elimination. You remove one option, you remove another, and now you are left with two in the four options. At this moment, you don't panic. You choose the option that is more balanced, less extreme, more aligned with the question. Next, we are moving to 80th minute to 100 minute. Now comes the most dangerous phase. You see a question and you feel, I studied this topic. I studied this topic. You read it once, you read it again, you try to recall, you start forcing memory. 90 seconds are gone and still no answer. This is not logic. This is ego. This is ego trap. So make a rule. If the answer does not emerge in 60 seconds, leave it, because UPSC rewards detachment, not emotional attachment. Then we are moving to 100 to 115th minute, 115 minute. Now you look at what is left with you. You attempt only those questions where you have eliminated at least two options, because now it is not about knowledge, it is about probability. This is called as risk strategy. After 115th to 120th minute, this is the final phase. No new attempts here, no last minute risks, only checking, only stability. Fill OMR carefully, because one mistake here can cost you multiple marks. OMR is not your clerical work, it is part of your strategy. Fill every 10 to 15 questions. You have to mark the OMR strategy, OMR sheet. You have to bubble the OMR with 10 to 15 questions. This is most important. Avoid the final end rush. So you have to fill every 10 to 15 questions. Take it as like batches. Inside the exam hall, you will feel pressure. You will see unfamiliar questions. You will doubt yourself. That is normal. You don't need to attempt everything. You need to stay in control. 70 to 75 questions done with clarity, done with discipline are enough. UPSC does not select the most knowledgeable candidate, it selects the one who remains stable. Stability is most important than knowledge here. That stability is under uncertainty is need of the hour here. So control the paper, the result will follow. Thank you and all the best.